let's move on to our next topic.
Yep.
I'm gonna go with my topic. My topic is basically questioning the fact that medium is middle class. Is there still a middle class, and is our perception of what a middle class is to be obtainable by what we perceive to be? Does that make sense? Like, I consider myself middle class. Great. Do you consider yourself being able to obtain the things that you would be able to obtain as a middle class by definition? And I think there's a disconnect. I think that we think people who are middle class, like, oh yeah, I get a certain amount of income, I'm considered middle class, but I don't think what you're consuming or what you need to be middle class is necessarily in alignment, right? I think there's actual quite a bit of a gap between income and what you need to just survive. I'm not even talking about like I want to go on like a bunch of vacations and I want a really nice car. I'm talking about just surviving.
The minimums, yeah.
Exactly. So this is going to have a couple different phases. I have a couple researches strewn around between Forbes and Redfin and a bunch of other stuff of like where these numbers are coming from in terms of averages. Okay. But I'm basically going to want to cross-reference a checklist of what you guys perceive to be needs on a monthly basis, and I'm going to throw out averages and just tell me if it sounds about right. We'll create this list, and it's going to basically produce a total of annual income that a middle-class person would need in order to achieve all these. And my hypothesis here, this is so interesting, I know people are going to not be bored at all, is that that the middle-class person that we perceive is not getting the income they need to be in the middle class.
I agree with that, yeah.
So, a couple figures. Yeah, just go ahead, Ian.
I'm going to put a point in here. When I was going to school, I went to school for finance, and I had a great teacher who does big like seminars and everything. And he said like his quote all the time is, "It's not how much money you make; it's how much you spend." That is where
totally
it creates it. You know, I mean, you can make $1 million, but if you're spending $2 million every year, guess what? You're poor.
So traditionally, what you would do is build your expenses based off how much income you're having. But what I'm doing, we're gonna work a little bit backwards, right? Because we're trying to figure out or solve a problem here. So what I've found is that the median income is on average $75,000 in America, and what middle class is defined as is making $135,000 a year for a household. And this is, I'm going to put for a family of four, $135,000. This is between the two household heads, or one, whatever, like with two kids. This is also, I'm not putting in pets, but we can always do that. So let's go down the line. Let's get this started, and then let's see if this actually like, if you make $135,000, can you hit all of the major expenses per month, or can you not, right? I would say if $135,000 is it's just interesting if that's actually how much money that people believe middle class should be making or to be middle class. Obama and Mitt Romney.
I think that there's a lot that are not middle class, then, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think a lot that aren't classified as middle class. So I would say that my household wouldn't be considered a middle class as of right now. I mean, working towards that, yes, but as of right now, full income is not 135 yet.
Right.
And we've got a 4-person household, then I guess you would say, right?
Yep.
Because we've got 2 kids and then two parents, and we are making ends meet, but they're not near what 135 would be able to meet. You know what I mean?
And what's interesting,
or at least ways we'd be able to improve our life.
What's even more interesting is that Obama and Mitt Romney back in 2012, when they were debating, they had stated that $200,000 to $250,000 is middle class.
Yeah, because these people come from a different world. They don't live in this. They don't live where we live. You know what I mean? They don't experience what we experience, so they don't have a clue what really is middle class.
And this is actually inspired by an NPR story about 2 teachers who worked in close to a city area who really couldn't even afford to fix their car and amongst other expenses, like buy a house. And so I snarked at Steve's comment where it was like, millennials just don't buy anything. It's like, I think they can't buy things because people are assuming that you get out of college, you start working, and then you go into this middle class, right? But if people can't even buy a house because of what we're about to do in this exercise, then that pretty much makes sense as to expenses are way too high for a competitive, highly volatile income
industry. I was going to say, here's an article I read real quick,
yeah.
Okay? And this puts it in a perfect light. So back in the late 80s, okay, what you were making in the late 80s for salary-wise, the average income, is pretty much exactly the same for what it is today, except for everything else has inflation and costs a lot more. But the value of what people are making, how much they're actually making, is exactly the same. So people back in the late 80s, the early 90s, those individuals, those generations were making the same amount of money we're making today, but their money went farther, so they had a lot more value with their money. So they lived a better lifestyle, were able to get different things that they wanted. So that middle class was there because the middle class, that amount of money was going further and further and further because of its value. But today we're making the same exact money, but the dollar doesn't go nearly as far. So that middle class bar raises up even way higher to be able to be classified as the middle class, I guess you'd say. And people are working just as hard, working the same 40 hours a week, making the same amount of money, but the money's not going nearly as far.
So that's absolutely the crux of the problem. But but it's easy to it's easy to see that. But I think once we go into these details, I think it's going to be very, very clear about like just how bad it is, right? So let's start with mortgage rent. I looked up on Forbes the average mortgage rent for like a 2-bedroom is $1,500 a month. Which I think is pretty generous, right? And I'd say we all agree on that, right?
I agree with that.
I guess I'm weird. Yeah, $1,500. I guess for a family. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, but like a mortgage, $1,500 for a mortgage is you can get a pretty decent place. That's a pretty nice amount of money.
It depends on where you live. Okay, so if you're obviously in the Northwest, like these guys are, that's not going to really get you anything. If you're down in Georgia, that'll get you a pretty nice place.
Right.
$1,500.
Right, and that's why it's averaged, right?
But my apartment, which was a 2-bedroom apartment, by the way, which was only 930 or 1,000 square feet, was $1,100. So.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, that's, I think, reasonable.
All right. So there's a ton of tons of topics. Let's see if we can just get to them really quickly.
Okay.
So food is averaged. I think it was like the consensus, whatever. It's average as $556 a month for food, on average.
That's about right.
So utilities for a 915 square foot place is $146. So power, water, trash, sewer, $146 a month.
I pay probably around 200.
That's 900 square feet for 900 square feet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's about right. Yeah.
That's a pretty small place for a house.
So this is also interesting because if any one of us are like, I'm spending way more on that, I think it might be educational because Steve, maybe you have water running for too long or whatever.
Yeah, well,
you should look into that.
Water bill is $123, and
holy
electric's
shit! No way.
Yeah, the electric's like probably around the same thing.
Leak, bro.
Yeah, you should look into that. So that's
like, no joke. I like run water like crazy at my place. It's not even nearly as much as that, dude. Not even close. And I mean, I'm like watering huge lawns and gardens and all that good stuff.
All right, let's keep going. Home car insurance, $157 for one car and a home a month. State Farm, on average, $157 for.
This is just the insurance or the actual vehicle as well?
No. The car's insurance a month combined with home insurance.
That's fair.
Internet is on average $51 a month for internet.
Yes,
that's about right.
Medical insurance on average $414 a month for family.
What the fuck? That's insane.
That's about right.
For
a month?
For family, yeah.
Yes.
This is so good. I love these reactions because like you don't think about it. You're like,
jeez.
TV a month on average now. This is probably not going to apply to us. $123 a month for a TV package.
Shit.
Go back to our old.
I pay $185 a month.
Go listen to our old episodes. Half of us only stream. I don't even have a cable bill.
Right.
I just
yeah, but why? Why again? Because what he's talking about.
Exactly.
Right now. Yeah.
So we're going to keep going. Phone, on average, $148 a month for phone bills.
I'm paying more than that.
Yeah, exactly, Steve, because I'm definitely using conservative values.
About 180 for the family.
Right.
I'm like 220.
So now this is I'm going to add some more math here. If you want a new car, a car lasts about 8 years, right? If you want to get an average price of a new car, it's going to cost you $16,800 for a new car that lasts every 8 years. If you have 8 years to save for that, you're going to have to save $175 a month to prepare for a new car that you're going to buy. That's on average. If you want a second car, that's another $175 that you're going to add on that. And I've done, if optional, I'll show you the total. Gas, $100. This is assuming you do not have a pickup, an SUV. This is assuming you're on the Prius hybrid side.
Well,
so again, conservative numbers.
I do 350, 400 in gas just because of I do that for my job.
Yeah,
I drive. You know.
Child care. This is for 2 kids. Remember, family 4. $972. No, that can't be.
Yes.
That's insane.
That sounds right. No,
It
that
should
sounds
be-
right.
No. Yes. That is exactly what it is.
No, it should be more actually.
Wait, how much are you saying?
For
900 what?
childcare, it should be way more. It should actually be close to 1,500 for one kid.
No.
I forget where I got this. This is on average. I'm sorry,
It's
because I
about
live in
1,000
Northwest.
for
So
one
this is average $972 for childcare a month.
Okay, if that's the case, mom and dad, be prepared to watch my kids.
Yeah.
No, that's exactly what's happening with me, dude. That's exactly what's happening. Because if that was the case, then we can't have dual income. We have to have somebody else to break away to be able to do it because childcare costs so much that it's like
That's
might as
insane.
well not be working.
So we're halfway through,
instead.
and we've already accumulated almost $3,000 for monthly expenses.
Mm-hmm.
And this is needs now. This is like for
Just
the most
needs.
part needs, right? I think you need a phone at this point.
Well, you don't need cable.
Okay,
I mean,
fair point. Yeah, you don't need cable. Home maintenance, on average, through taxes, dues, just keeping up, you're gonna have to save $1,421 a month to mow the lawn, do random stuff, repair things, replace things, paint.
That's a lot a month.
It's a lot a
Yeah, I
month
don't-
on average for a home.
Like what you would spend over the entire year,
It's,
though, kind
it's
of deal.
basically 1% of the sale price is how much you would be spending a year to put back
Keep
into the
maintenance
home.
up on your house.
And that equates to about 14.
yeah, I had a $10,000 day on my house, so
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Then, right, and
That's
that,
what- yeah.
that could eat you the whole year.
And that's what he's saying, where you can divvy that up, obviously,
yeah.
it's across the 12 months, and then
exactly.
yada
Car
Or-
maintenance, $920
A month?
a year.
a year.
Okay.
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 That's a
Yeah,
year.
shit.
Yeah.
Well, I'm dropping 2,500 right now.
Yeah, no, sorry, that's a month.
You guys are
because
stressing me out right now.
that could be a month because you're
Actually,
gonna
I'm
have
sitting
to.
here thinking about
No, that can't be a month. That's a year.
Can't be a month.
Yeah.
You really think though? You're like, man, I'm poor because
Yeah, but I'm dropping
this is already
2,500.
over what
well,
I
I'm
make.
already thinking. I'm already thinking about what I make and what Amber makes. I'm sitting there thinking, there's no fucking way we can live on our own and be happy. There's no way. I mean, we guess we can be happy, but we won't be able to do anything.
If you don't stress about money, you can be happy.
Oh no,
Like,
that's what I said.
that means,
you can be
I mean,
happy,
even if you
but
have
you won't be able to
the
do
ends
anything.
aren't meeting and you just don't cause stress about the idea, then you'll be fine. But most people can't do that.
Yeah.
Honest.
So is it still averaging about $3,000 every month?
No, we're not even there yet.
No, he's not finished yet.
Yeah. I had a statistic that backed this car thing up, and I can't find it right now.
Okay.
I'll look into it. I don't know where I found it, or I gotta find
Okay,
it.
well,
All
I would say
all I know
that-
is that the kid thing dramatically changes when they get older though, because you're no longer buying toys anymore. You're just buying clothes, and then they don't think materialistic. Like the girls, I remember the Christmases dramatically changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as what they need and as much stuff as they need and everything like that, it's dramatically changed too.
Is it more expensive when they're older?
No. No,
No,
it's-
I would think it'd be
Really?
less
Was
too
it good?
because then you don't have that child care bill either because they're going if they're going to public school, that's also free. You know what I mean? So it's like you're not having to pay for that bill either. Like he was just saying they don't buy the toys anymore, which toys really are crazy expensive. Like
Yeah,
$50 a
they
toy. Like everything costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then he's
And
saying
they're not-
that they just buy clothes at this point.
And they're not boys, so it's like they're not into really electronic things or
Right.
everything's like a $50 game or something like that. You know what I mean?
Okay,
So-
I'll have to find this statistic. I apologize. I was hoping I would have everything just back
all
up.
good.
But, and then home supplies, $65 a month. This is for cleaning products, laundry, stuff like that. Retirement, if you want to be able to
Yeah,
retire
exactly.
based on this salary that it's providing,
No.
like if you're going to be able to retire and still have to be able to have these expenses, right? Basically, have your annual income through retirement. You're going to have to save $1,550 a month in order and put that into 401k in order to live this life without working.
Yeah.
With Social Security being
so
added to you.
one thing real quick, a tangent real fast. I read another article that said the millennials are actually going to have to save somewhere between $2.5 million for retirement, and that could possibly go up to $3 million for retirement for millennials.
That's what this averages
because
out
of
to.
inflation of the dollar right now.
Yeah, when you
exactly.
retire, you have about $2 million, and that's going to last you for the rest of your life, and that
To
will
just
give
live
you
this
your
same
annual-
lifestyle. That's it. Just to keep perpetuating the same lifestyle.
Right.
That's it.
Correct.
Nothing better. Just the same.
I went really low on dining out, $100 a month. Maybe that's like one. That's one outing. Maybe two.
That's actually for me and my wife. It's higher. Her and I were actually talking about that the other day. We are lazy sometimes, just like, oh, let's get this and just order.
Bro, the way that I work, I spend probably $10 every day on fast food type of foods because I'm
Right.
out on the road constantly.
Yeah.
So every day, at least one of my meals is like $10.
Yeah, Amber came home the other day and was like, "Do you know how much I spent in Chick-fil-A in the last
Yeah.
2 weeks?"
Yeah, exactly.
She's like, I spent almost $200 the last 2 weeks. She's
Whoa.
like, we got to stop doing that. She's like, I'm like,
But
I
it's
completely
real.
agree.
It's a real
I
thing. It
completely
totals up.
agree.
So,
Yeah.
sorry,
Even
I'm
my
gonna keep
Red Bull
going.
addictions, right?
Yeah, keep going,
Average
sorry.
cost. Okay, so now college. If you want your kid to go to an average cost college, it costs, as of right now, $25,000 a year to bring your kid to an average cost college. In order for you to hit that, if you started saving the moment they were born, that gives you 18 years. You'd have to save for 18 years $462 a month.
So you got that right, Clay?
Yeah,
You're doing that?
we're
You're
trying.
doing that?
Emergency money. This is if you lose your job, if something crazy happens, if you have to take an emergency flight to attend a funeral. This is saving, what they say is 6 months worth of your income. So that would have to, you're saving $250 a month. This is just kind of like an average thought process that would continue. Vacation. An average 1 year, like one vacation has an average, and it equates to $381 a month for you to take a $4,000 vacation a year.
Jeez.
Spending.
Yeah, but I didn't want to do that.
This is just random spending. You might have gifts to attend for a party. You might have to like buy some
lot
stuff
of
for
birthday
like
parties.
whatever. You might want to like get some clothes. $350 a month that you have to save. So this totals to $118,000
A year.
a year. Now we said you'd have to make $135,000, but that's before taxes. So
Yeah.
you go to